Alright, welcome back to a new TouchDesigner tutorial. And in this one we'll look at this abstract 3D structure, for lack of a better name. And yeah, this is actually all done with top instancing. And as you can see, it's not a crazy big network. It's really just like basically one or two tricks that are doing this. And there's a lot of parameters that we can tweak to make this different. So yeah. Before we start, I want to just make you aware of this thing I built down here. It's a little tool you can also download for free. I'll link that in the description. I hope this helps so you can like sort of see better what I'm like doing with my keyboard when I'm typing. It's sort of a problem that it doesn't really show. I can't really grab what I'm typing when I'm editing something. So I hope this still helps. And yeah, so just be aware of that if you don't know what I'm doing. All right, so I'm gonna start by just showing you a bit what you can do with this. So first off, as this is, as so often, based on noise, we have all the options of noise, so we can like do basically an endless amount of different generative artworks here. Change periods and harmonics and all that kind of stuff, right? So we also have options to yeah, make this sort of, I don't know how to describe this, more like little points or clusters. And yeah, this is based on, or really working because of the pointilize. So we have some options to change things here. And we can do things like, you know, I put this box around here. So I'm gonna increase the amplitude here. And what I can do now is actually limit this. So the box actually serves as a bounding box. So I'm going to unbypass this, and then you can see everything is contained inside of this box. So that's really nice, and it's something I've been wanting to do for quite a while. So yeah, you can see it all like, it's like pushed into there. And then we have another limit, which sort of changes how this looks as well. And another noise with which we can sort of create this. If we go down with the period, we can sort of create this. If I go down with the amplitude here again, get rid of this limit, we can make this sort of explosion effect. So I can like go pew and then the structure is sort of being yeah, breaking apart. We're doing some scaling here with noise. We're also doing colors with noise, so we can get rid of that, or you know, change it to do different colors, or there's also other ways. And I'm going to show you some tricks with that. And we have lighting, camera options, and I'll show you all of that now. Alright, so I've set up the thing so we see the artwork here. If you want to do the same, you've got to split your pane here, your inner pane. And then on my parent, I have set the layout to 1080 by 1080 with an height, and the look to ./bg as usual. And then you just gotta like select panel here, and of course you've got to have the corresponding null. Alright, so I'm gonna select everything and get rid of it as usual, and we're gonna start with the render network setup, because then we can freely have fun afterwards. So let's start with a box and a transform and a geo. Alright, cool, so we got that. On my transform, I'm gonna go down with the scaling to 0.01, and I'm going to add a camera as well as a light. I also want to have a render top, and because I've set my parent to 1080 by 1080 by 1080, I'm just gonna grab that by typing parent parentheses dot width, and just copy and paste this and type in height instead. So you know, you don't have to do it that way, but it's nice to have your parent same resolution so you can see it here. I'm also going to change the pixel format of my render to 32-bit float, and the anti-alias to like 16 times. So though if you don't have a good PC, you might not want to do that. I'm going to turn off all the viewers here. And after the render, I'm going to add a level, so we're more in control of contrast and brightness. I'm going to add an RGB key just to have a black background, and a null. Then I'm going to call BG, And now you're going to see a little white dot appear here. So if I bypass our transform, we can actually see a big box because we set it up that way. So I'm going to add a null comp because I want to have, if we look at the cam, we have a constraint too and a look at parameter. I want to add nulls so I can like reference them there. I'm going to press C and make this black. Call the first one look at. Copy it and call the second one constraint, just as the parameters. And I'm going to give this actually another color of orange because it's sort of more important. And I'm going to just copy and paste this and put that here because I want to have the same things for the light. And I'm going to drag the look at, like select the camera first, drag the look at onto the look at and the constraint on the corresponding parameter. Same with these on the light. Alright, this just makes things a bit easier. Now the light and the cam are always looking at 0, 0, 0. And we can, on the constraint now, we can change, if I just bypass this, I can now change where the camera is looking from, and I can like rotate the camera easily and things like that. All right, we're gonna come back to that. All I'm gonna add here now is a Phong and drag it on the geo, par material, the usual stuff. Okay, so that's for the basic setup. Let's unbypass this again. I'm also going to turn off the viewers here. And as so often, we are going to start with a noise top. So I'm going to drop down a noise here and go to the comment page and change the pixel format to 32-bit float. And on the resolution, I'm going to type in 600 by 600. So this is going to define the number of sort of particles that we get, the number of boxes that we get. So right now, if you middle mouse click, that's 360,000. Or if you just, you know, don't suck at math completely, you can also just multiply these. But yeah, so this like the maximum of this is really just based on how powerful your GPU is. So just try out what works. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go down with the scale Y to 0. So we just have these vertical lines. And I'm gonna change the period here to 2. I'm gonna change the harmonics to 4. The harmonic spread to 3. Just gonna leave that the way it is, turn monochrome off and go down with the offset. Alright, so now we have these colorful lines. And I'm going to add a ramp from here and actually not change anything about it. And then I'm going to middle mouse click and add a luma blur from here. And put that in here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and bypass this for now, add a null, and call this pause for position. And so we can actually see what we're doing right away, right? So I'm going to go to my geo here and turn instancing on and drag this pause onto here and select R, G, and B. So right now we can just see, all right, we get this sort of noisy thing going on. And the cool thing, if we now turn on Luma Blur, you can see these actually become sort of lines. So what I'm going to do is change this to 65. So we're basically just making these lines longer. And without the ramp, this wouldn't actually work. With the ramp, it does. So yeah, that's one of the main things about this technique. Combination of the ramp and the Luma Blur here. And then what I'm going to do is open the palette and go to image filters and localize, pointillize, and drag that in here. Then I'm going to close this again, connect my Luma Blur to the input here and the output to that. And you're going to see something weird happen. So why is that? That's because in our pointillize, there's actually a lot going on. And our render is what we're sort of interested in here. If we middle mouse click, we can see it's 8-bit fixed RGB. So we want to have a 32-bit float. So I'm going to change that, and you can see this instantly changes as well. I'm going to go to my cam and just zoom a bit closer to like 2.4. And right, so if you go ahead and change the seed now, you can already see you can make a lot of different interesting shapes with this. Let's go to our pointillize and actually go up with the point scattering to like 13, down with the point size, and to like 0.5 with the dry wet mix. All right. So now we've basically done the basics here. I'm going to go ahead and add a blur, but I just want to change the blur to like 2, so you can already see how much of a difference that makes. It just gives the whole thing more structure. So you can go higher with this, but at some point it's just gonna look like too digital again. But like you could go up to like, I don't know, 5 maybe. I'm gonna leave it at like, I don't know, 4. And again, change the seeds to get different results here and mess around with these parameters. Alright, so before we move on and actually explore this a lot more, I want to create the box around this that I showed you in the beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and add a box sub. And from here I'm going to add an attribute create, because we're going to need tangents, or might need tangents. I'm not actually sure in this case. I messed around with this so much. Alright, so I'm going to add a geo and add another geo. I'm going to turn off the rendering for the second one for now. So what we want to do now is we want to add 2 different materials. So the first one is a wireframe. You could also use a line, but for simplicity's sake, and also because the line mat only works for Windows users, I just use a wireframe here. Turn blending on, go down with the alpha to like 0.4, and change the line width to like 2. Alright, then I'm going to go ahead and add another Fong and drag that on here again. Let's turn on the rendering, and what I'm going to do on the Fong is actually go up with the specular a bit, and I'm going to go to my comment page, turn blending on, and turn right depth values off, and I'm going to go to my alpha and go down to like 0.15. So if I now, again, I'm going to turn off the viewers. If I go to my geo now, to the rotate Y, and type in abs time dot frame times 0.2, then you can see this is starting to rotate. I can copy this parameter, the RY, and paste the reference on here and also on here. And now we have the whole thing rotating. And you can sort of see this shininess when the light hits sort of our glass thingy in the right way. And I think that looks pretty cool. So on the Geo 1, I'm going to call that frame. I'm gonna call, well, I'm gonna call the other one sort of glass, because it's kind of similar to that. I'm gonna go to my constraint of the camera and just move my cam up a bit, so we're like looking from the top. And I'm gonna adjust my light so it's like looking from the side, maybe something like that. We can still adjust this later on. I think that's pretty cool. Whatever, we'll see. Actually liked it better before. All right, so before our blur we can add some other stuff. So first off, what we can do, we can add a limit, and we can go to quantize and turn this to round, and then you can see we're getting sort of these yeah, like rectangular shapes in there, which is really nice. I think this looks sort of like voxel art, you know, and I really like that look. So you can keep that at 0.1. That's a pretty good value. I'm gonna bypass this for now. Just wanted to show that. The other thing is we have this box, right? So what if we want to constrain our sculpture, I guess that's what you could call it, like inside that box. So again, we can use a limit for that at the very end of this chain here. And we have this limit type minimum and maximum. We can just set those both to clamp, and then change this to minus 0.5 and 0.5. And then you can see we're sort of like, you know, clamping that. Yeah, this actually also super interesting. So clamping is one thing. So with clamping, we're like really just saying, okay, all right, you can't like go further than this value, which in this case is 0.5. And because our box's scale is 1, this actually fits perfectly. So if we changed our scale, then we'd have to adjust these values. But yeah, so that's one thing. The other thing is we could change this to loop, and then whatever comes out here like starts back there again. So that's also like a super interesting thing. And to be honest, I hadn't actually thought about that before. That really just occurred to me first time. So yeah, I really like that. Right. So yeah, that's the thing. So you can like unbypass this or bypass this. And by the way, if you want to just easily make this structure bigger, you can like increase the amplitude of the first noise. And I'm also going to have to give this like a color so we know it's important. Right. And then you could, again, change this limit or, you know, just change it to clamp again, something like that. So feel free to play around with this. What is the exact going to do? Also interesting. So yeah, feel free to play around with that. All right, another thing I want to show you before we get to color part is that you can also add another noise in here. Set the second input to this as well. Turn monochrome off, and then like go down with the amplitude and the offset. And now you could do this sort of explosion thing, right? You can like make this go pew. That's totally not the noise that fits to this. Anyways, right. So yeah, feel free to play around with that. I might just get back to that when once we've done the colors, because then it actually looks a lot cooler. So let's finally get to the colors. I'm going to add another noise here, and again add both of these in here. I'm going to set the RGB to just noise, turn monochrome off, set the period to 15, and go down with all of these. So it looks like this. And then I'm going to add a null. I'm going to call this color. And go to my geo instance 2 page, drag the color onto here, and just select R, G, and B. And there we go. Now we have some cool color going on. Now we can just change the C to change the color. You can also go down with the period, so then it's really, yeah, colorful. I'm not a huge fan of that, but you know, whatever floats your noise, I guess. Sorry about that. All right. Another thing is we can, yeah, there's two things we can add in here to make this more interesting. So one thing is we can add a ramp, for example. So we could just bypass, or you know, just make this monochrome. So it's just like that. And then we can add a ramp. Let's go ahead and just make everything sort of dark, and just add like a bit, like two things here that are a bit brighter, and another one that is really bright and sort of, I don't know, maybe let's make this red. Okay. Then I'm gonna go ahead and change the period to 3. I'm gonna animate this phase. So ABS time dot seconds times minus 0.8, for example. So you can see this looks really interesting. And actually let's change this to vertical. And it looks a lot more interesting because it's sort of going from the inside to the outside. And now we can go to output, comp with input, and set this to screen. And then we're like putting that over the other noise. So if we were to like have color here, maybe just very slight, then that would be sort of over that. Yeah, so that's a really interesting effect. Maybe we can even make this a bit faster. You can also go down to period 1 and then it's like constantly going, but I think it's a bit more interesting if it's only like happening sometimes, right? So yeah, that's a thing you can do. And of course, again, this has many possibilities of that you can explore. I'm just gonna set the color to 3148 because I noticed that's a pretty nice color mix. Change the amplitude to 0.5. And on this noise, actually, I'm going to change this to like 1625, the seed, because I also found that pretty nice. Okay. One thing we can also do here with the color, actually, is we can displace it. So I'm going to add a displace, add a noise from here, middle mouse, and change the output to just noise. Put that into the displace. Just go down with the displace to like 0.2 maybe. And then you can see we get these sort of lines, right? So it's not just color, but it's lines. So like more interesting color, I guess. So yeah, again, plenty of possibilities here. Another thing is that we might want to add some, you know, change the scaling. So of course we could just go to our transform here and change the scaling here. So like make it smaller or bigger. And at some point you're going to notice, yeah, it's just going to like crash your PC. So don't go too high with this. But yeah, we can from here add another noise. So again, work with noise. Use both of these. Actually, I'm gonna go from the blur. Doesn't really matter that much, but yeah. And I'm going to set the output again to just noise and turn the monochrome off. And I'm going to go ahead and change the period to 2. And now I'm gonna add a math from here. And another null. I'm gonna call this scale. And I'm gonna go to my first instance page and drag that onto the scale OP and just select R, G, and B. And now you can gonna see some black patches, which really doesn't look that great, I think. So we can change the 2 range to like 0.2. And we could now make this also bigger, so we have like a bigger range of things. Might even want to, I don't know, 0.3 maybe. Alright, another cool thing here that you can do. Maybe I want to like go down with the noise here again to 0.5. What you can do here on the math, you can go crazy with the 2 range of the G, so the Y. So then, for example, 12 or like, I don't know, 24 even. And then you get these like sort of long things and it sort of looks like, I don't know, Minecraft or something. So maybe like 12, because you're gonna notice at some point it's gonna like sort of slow down your computer. If it does, either way, if you don't even go crazy with this, you can go down again with the resolution, right? So you can change that too, so you have less boxes that your computer has to deal with. All right, so now again, you're feel free to like play around with the seed just to do different sort of iterations, to like change the luma blur here, change the point aliasing, the noise, add limit, add the other limit that still works if you change scale and color, of course. Same with like, you know, looping. So yeah, you can see there's really a lot of possibilities here. So now again, we might want to change our light. So I'm going to go to like, you know, I'm going to look at the light and cam a bit. And I'm going to go to my light here, go to shadows and turn hard shadows on. So what's the coolest position here? I don't know, man. I'm just going to use this. And you're going to see it sort of flickering. If your computer can handle it, I would recommend going ×4 with the resolution here. So multiplying it by 4. And then you can see the flickering basically vanishes. I'm also going to go to my level and change the brightness to 1.5 and the contrast to 1.2 or like 0.1. Something like that. Maybe 0.4. So it's just the whole thing is a bit more like saturated and interesting. And the other cool thing we can do, we can go to our cam and we can go to view, and we can increase this near parameter. And when we do that, we can like cut off sort of a part of the box and generally of the whole sculpture. So I think that looks really, really interesting actually. Again, we might want to change the yeah, the shadow looks kind of off because of that. But it's still, I think it's a really interesting effect, you know, cutting off the box with this near power. It's basically like anything that's closer than, like under this value, basically closer than that, it's just going to be cut away. It's just not going to be seen by the camera. You could do the same thing with the far parameter. Just go down, you can like cut off another part from the back. So that's also really nice. So it sort of looks like this, I don't know, stone-ish diamond-y thing. Right, so yeah, don't go below 0.1. It's gonna sort of ruin it all. And might actually want to go to diffuse 1 here, so we actually get the proper colors. And I'm gonna go back to just 1 here. And right, I think we're at the end here. Try out different things here also with the blurring, so turning it on and off, changing the sample step maybe, turning dither on and off also makes a very slight, but you know, sort of just slightly noticeable difference. Mess around with the limit here, and then the noise, so you can do these sort of explosions, and you can see, which I really like, by the way. So because we've set the limit here, we're like doing this, and basically have a bounding box, we can like trap the noise in there, so it looks like this explosion, but like, yeah, only inside the box. I really like that. It's really cool effect. So I'm gonna get rid of that again, and yeah, so all of this was created by messing around. So really just trying out things, and I somehow ended up here, and I'm really happy with the result. So I'd really recommend you adding more stuff in here that could work, adding more noises, animating the noises. By the way, you can also animate this. That's way too fast. Yeah, so the contents are like animated. Same with this noise. So if we were to like just go a bit higher, we could like animate this again. And then there's really a lot of movement going on. So you might want to go down with the harmonics here. No, actually, don't. I want to go down with the harmonics here. Yeah. Whatever. I think we have reached the end of this video. Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this. I definitely had a lot of fun with exploring this. If you want to support me, I've got a Patreon. I'm going to link that in the description. And thanks to all the people that are already supporting me. And it's wonderful that I can just do this as my work. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.